Hello and welcome to Knife Delights. It's time for another 2 for Tuesday. Hey, it's an open tag available for all channels. I invite you to participate. It's an easy open tag. Grab a couple of knives and talk about them. Here on the table today, I got a couple of really classic knives here. I have the Buck 119 Special up here on the top. And down here on the bottom is the Case 323-5. Couple of wonderful hunting knives here. Well, I'll tell you what. This Case knife is described more as a hunting knife, and the Buck knife can be used as a hunting knife, but it's more of a general purpose outdoor knife in a way. Oh, and we got the fingerprints already. Oh boy. So let's just take a look at these two. I just thought it'd be fun to do a side-by-side comparison. Now, right off the bat, both of these knives are made in the USA. Terrific. And, they both of these companies have pretty good warranty programs. Of course, I'm more familiar with the Buck warranty program. They call it their Forever Warranty. But I think Case does a pretty good job of standing behind their knives also. So, made in the USA knives. The Buck 119 is still in production, but unfortunately the 323 here, it is no longer in production. I don't know when they stopped. Just doing some research online, I saw some knives from back in the 70s and 80s, I think, the 323 series. I checked eBay. I did not see any of them listed on eBay. But if you're interested in this knife, just like all the other knives I'm trying to find, you just hunt for them, and one of these days you might run across it on eBay or some other auction site. So we have an overall length of the Case knife here. The overall length is 9 inches, and on the Buck 119 we got 10.5 inches. Here we have a blade length of 5 inches, and on the 119 we have a 6-inch blade. Now, while I think of it, I did read a comment, and I don't know if it's factual or not, but when you have the dash between the 323 and the 5 there, so if you have a model number and then a dash, supposedly, according to one commenter, that meant it was like a limited edition or a special commemorative run, and we can see that on this knife here. Because this knife is an advertising knife, 2017 for Morton Buildings. They are steel buildings that are popular here in the Midwest. I don't know if they're nationwide or not, but they are here in the Midwest. And on this one, I'll just say this 119 happens to be a 75th anniversary edition. Yeah, so just kind of get those two things out of the way here before we go on. So the blade material on the Case then is their stainless steel, or SS, and that's what it shows there on the tang stamp. I don't know if that stands for stainless steel or surgical steel, because they're generic steel they call surgical steel. And of course on the 119 here we have the standard 420 HC with a Boz heat treatment. Now, I did find a blade thickness online for the 119, and it's listed as 0.17 inches. I could not find a blade thickness for the Case, and I don't have calipers, but if you look there very closely, you can tell that the 119 is a much thicker blade. It does not have jimping, and the Case knife does have jimping on it. And you can see that on the Buck we have a fuller there, and there is no fuller on the Case knife. So our blade styles here is on the Case we have a trailing point because it curves up, and on the 119 you got your classic clip point on it. Double-sided swedge, and no swedge on the Case. Now, both of these knives feature a hollow grind. You can see it there. You can feel it in there. And of course, Buck does a lot of hollow grind on their knives. Very deep hollow grind. The finish on this blade, as you can see, is a mirror finish. You can tell that by all the fingerprints on it. And this is more of a satin finish, and you can see the grind marks in it. And I kind of like that. I kind of like seeing those grind marks in there. Just a fantastic looking blade. Might as well show you the Tang stamp here on the Buck also. So the handle length on the case is 4 inches, and we got 4.5 inches there on the Buck. And we have a weight of 8.8 ounces on the case and 7.5 ounces on the 119. And you know what? That just don't feel right. It feels like this is heavier than this. Sometimes I get these stats off of a website, off of like a online knife shop. Sometimes they're wrong. You have to watch the information you have on those. So, yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say. Doing the redneck weight test here. Anyway, let's look at these handles here for just a moment. Of course, we both have stainless steel pommels and guards. And the Buck and their fixed blades, most all of them have this. They have some very gentle finger grooves in there, which I really like. They don't force your hand or your fingers in a particular spot. You can adjust back and forth. But there's just enough of a groove there you can get a really tight grip if you need to. And of course, this one has a bigger guard. This has a single guard, a small one, which you want to see on a hunting knife or a Skinner knife, because you don't want a big wide guard getting in the way as you're trying to skin. So that's why on a Skinner knife, hunting knife and skinning knife, sometimes you only have a half guard. And you can see there's a full guard left and right. This does give you a nice thumb ramp there, nice place to put your thumb if you're wanting to use your knife this way. Where on this one there is no guard, but you do have the jimping there. Now, handle material, obviously we have two different kinds of handle material. This is some sort of a polymer. They call it phenolic, and it's I've heard it said it's the same thing that they make bowling balls out of, but I am not sure of that. Can't confirm that. But I've heard the phenolic handles being described as indestructible. They are a very hard handle, and they do last. And of course, down here on the case, we have this sweet looking leather. You've got the red micarta spacers there, and then you got the black. And then I don't know if those are stainless steel spacers there also, but it's a very, very attractive knife. And Case always does a good job with their leather handles. Now, there are no finger grooves in it, but you do have a little bit of a swell. You just barely tell there's a swell, so it fits into your hand very good that way. Now, I wear, large to extra large gloves. This is a 4-inch handle, so you can see it fits my hand just right. Now, talking about cost, again, I went to a discount website, one of the normal knife dealers that are online, and they're listing I found on one, and they're probably pretty much very close, but $74.99 current price for the Buck 119. Now, this one here was listed as like $89 or somewhere in the 80s, but again, that might be a very old price because they did say that this knife was discontinued. So if this knife were to be made today, I'm sure they would have raised their price on it. So it does look like the 119 is a little bit. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this side-by-side comparison of these two great knives. And down here in the lower right-hand corner, I'll put a link to my playlist, probably my Buck Knife playlist down there in the center here, that big round knife delights. Well, hit that if you'd like to subscribe. And down here in the lower left-hand corner, well, that's just the next video that YouTube thinks you should watch. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a very delightful day.